Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare would like to read together. Jai Om Gyanti Miranda Siaganang Nashalakya. Чакшурмритаминат смайши гуровен маха. Шичитаним нобистам степитмен бутоле. Варопактам хям дати сападантикам. Вандехам шигуру шиутпадакамон сигурно вишнямча. Рупно скръждам с нарагонатам ветанту сачвам. Стати савлутам паричнах сахитам кшначетами девам. Шрад Кришна патан схаганавалита шивишакам витавча. Кришна каруна синду дина банду джагатпаде. Гупеша гопика канта рада канта намастуде. Тавта канчна горанги. Рада вритаванешвари. Вришапанасуте деви пранами хари прие. Ванча капата рупача. Крипасни го певача. Патит нам паванебю. Вишнавебю намо намаха. Кришна карусин дина банча капате. Гопеша гопика канта рада канта намастуде. Тавта канчна горанги. Рада вритаванешвари. Вришапанасуте деви пранами хари прие. Jai the Gaytri book, Jai His Holiness Chinandana Swami, Jai His Divine Grace, the Bhaichara Ravinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I'm almost at the end of my trial to read the book, and there are some Gayatri mantras given there. Those Gayatri mantras which one becomes from their Guru Maharaj in Krishna consciousness, they are not here. They are given from the spiritual master by the second initiation to the disciple. So they are not here, but others. The three mantras are given here at the end. Just a moment. Now, Lakshmi Gaytri. Om Mahadevaya Vidmahe Vishnu Patnyai Cha Dimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodayat. May we understand Lakshmi Devi, the great goddess. Let us meditate on her, the wife of Lord Vishnu. May Sri Lakshmi Devi enlighten us. Enlighten us. And there is a note taken from Shri Shukta. Prahlada Gayatri. Om Prahladaya Vidmahe Bhakta Rajaya Dhimahi Tano Prahlada Prachodayat. May we understand Shri Prahlada Maharaj. Let us meditate on him, the king of bhakti. May Shri Prahlada enlighten us. The next ones are mantras for various servants of the Lord. Tulasi Gayatri. Om Shri Tulasiyai Vidmahe Vishnu Priyayai Dhimahi Tano Mrita Prachodayat. May we understand Srimati Tulasi Devi. Let us meditate on her, the beloved of Lord Vishnu. May the beautiful goddess enlighten us. Ananta Gayatri. Klim Raja Rajaya Vidmahe Naga Rajaya Dhimahi Tano Shisha Prachodayat. May we understand Lord Ananta, the King of Kings, Let us meditate on him, the king of the serpents. May Lord Ananda Shesha enlighten us. Sudarshana Gayatri. Om Sudarshanaya Vidmahe. Maha Dvalaya Dimahi. No Chakra Prachodayat. May we understand Shri Sudarshana. May we understand Shri Sudarshana. Let us meditate on him, the great fire. May that Sudarshana chakra enlighten us. So, let's see. There are more Gayatris, Garuda Gayatri, and so on. Others are also given, and I will continue to read that the next time. Jai the Gayatri book, Jai His Holiness Sanatana Swami, Jai His Divine Grace by Charan Govinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Jai, Vedic wisdom tells. Jai, His Holiness Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada, yesterday was his disappearance day. Jai, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prem Prabhupada Prabhupada Maharaj, who had translated this book for the first time in English with explanations. Jai Shri Gaur Govinda Maharaj, Jai Shri Narayana Maharaj, Jai Bhaktivedanta Name Maharaj, Jai Bhagavat Maharaj, Jai His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarovinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So, it is chapter 22. No. Yes, chapter 22 about Prahlad Maharaj. You all know the story of Prahlad Maharaj. So here I had reached the place in the text where Prahlad is speaking with Hiranyakashipu, his father, and Hiranyakashipu says, "Oh, this Lord, about whom do you speak? Is he also in this column?" And so on. And I continue to read about that. So Hiranyakashipu said, "Oh, slow-witted one, your proselytizing has now reached the limit of its effectiveness. You claim that someone other than me is the Lord of the world. So, show me. Where is that Lord of the universe of which you speak? If he is omnipotent, why is he not visible in this stone pillar? I will now separate your head from your body. You have so much trust in your Hari. How will he save you now?" In this way, the extremely powerful demon king was constantly threatening Prahlad, Bhagavan's loving devotee. Where Hiranyakashipu could no longer restrain his anger, he grabbed a sword, descended from the throne, and forcefully struck the stone pillar. At that moment, a terrifying sound emanated from the pillar, as if the universe itself was being torn apart. When that sound reached the realms of the guardians of the world, the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, felt as though the time for universal annihilation had arrived. Hiranyakashipu, upon hearing the terrifying and unprecedented sound, became somewhat nervous about killing Prahlad. He began to look around, wondering, who is making this sound? At that very moment, an uphold the words of his servant Prahlad and of Lord Brahma, and to demonstrate that he pervades all things, assuming a wonderful form, Lord Nrsimhadev manifested from the stone pillar in the assembly. This form was not fully that of a lion, a human, or any other animal. As Hiranyakashipu was in a state of confusion, wondering, what extraordinary living being is that? Nrsimha, man-lion. At that very moment, Lord Nrsimha appeared standing right in front of him. His form was extremely fearsome. His eyes were shining like molten gold. His teeth were terrifying. Hiranyakashipu began to think, definitely Vishnu, who is beyond the great illusion Mahamaya, has created a game to kill me? Thinking in this way, the king of the deities roared like a lion and charged at Lord Nrsimha's, wielding a mace in his hand. However, just as a moth falls into the fire and disappears from view, he entered the divine effulgence of Bhagavan and vanished. Such an event is not at all amazing for Bhagavan, who is the shelter of all divine powers and effulgence, because at the beginning of creation, the Lord dispelled by his effulgence the dense darkness of Tamaguna, which had been the cause of the annihilation, pralaya. In a fit of rage, Hiranyakashipu swung his mace to inflict a forceful blow upon Lord Nrsimha. But just as Garuda swiftly captures a snake, the Lord seized Hiranyakashipu along with his mace. Bhagavan took him to the doorway and dropped him across his thighs, as if playing in a game. Lord Nrsimha tore him apart with his sharp nails, just as Garuda rips apart a venomous snake with his sharp nails. Lord Nrsimha tore apart Hiranyakashipu's chest, ripped out his heart and slammed him into the ground. At that moment, thousands of heavenly armed demons began to attack the Lord. However, the Lord, with his own army of kicks, sharp nails, and other weapons in his many hands, struck out of all four directions at once, killing them all. Although the demons had been destroyed, and no one could see anyone confronting Lord Nrsimha, his rage was still escalating. He sat on the high throne in Hiranyakashipu's royal court. Seeing his blazing rage and terrifying face, no one had the courage to approach and serve him. The sky became crowded with the celestial vehicles of the demigods who had come to see the Lord. The demigods began to beat their drums, and the Gandharvas began to sing. Brahma, Indra, Shiva, and various demigods, sages, forefathers, Sitas, Vidadharas, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and all the attendants of the Lord, such as Sunanda and Kumuda, arrived there. They all offered prayers glorifying Lord Nrsimhadeva, but they could not pacify his anger. When Goddess Lakshmi Devi witnessed this astonishing form of Lord Nrsimha, she was afraid to approach him. At that moment, Brahma instructed Prahlada. Child Prahlada, it is for your sake that the Lord has appeared in this form. Go to him and pacify him. Prahlad, the best devotee of the Lord, approached him with folded hands and prostrated on the ground before him. When Bhagavan saw the little child prostrating at his feet, his heart filled with compassion. He lifted Prahlad and placed his lotus hand upon his head. Instantly, Prahlad fully realized the Paramatma Tattva. I'll continue to read the next time. Further, Jai, Vedic Wisdom Tales. Jai, His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, the author. Jai, Shri Prabhupada Prabhu Maharaj, who had translated this book for the first time in English with explanations. Jai Shri Narayana Maharaj, Jai Shri Gaura Govinda Maharaj, Jai Bhagavata Maharaj, Jai Bhaktivedanta Nai Maharaj, Jai His Divine Grace, Abhay Charan Ravrinda, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Dvaita Gadadhara, Shri Sati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Vanchakalpatarupachak, Kripastakapayavacha, Patidnam Pavane Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha. at one of the last times I had tried to sing Manhashiksha of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and now I will try to sing Manhashiksha of Prarthana, from Prarthana. Again, teachings of the mind, but this is not from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. It is written here from Prarthana in this songbook. Okay. Translation, no, not translation, no, purport from His Divine Grace by Charan Ravinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I think I had read this many times before, but I will again read it. So beautiful, it's very nice, explains the song, the translation of the song. This is a very nice song by Narottama Das Thakura. He advises that Nitai Pada, the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, Kamala means lotus and Pada means feet, are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight not only for one, but for millions of moons. We can just imagine the aggregate total value of the soothing shine of millions of moons in this material world, Jagat, which is progressing towards hell. There is always a blazing fire, and everyone is struggling hard without finding peace. Therefore, if the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter under the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, which are cooling like the shining of a million moons. Juraya means relief. If one actually wants relief from the struggle of existence and actually wants to extinguish the blazing fire of material pangs, Narottama Das Thakura advises, please take shelter of Lord Nityananda. What will be the result of accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda? He says, Henonitai binebai. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, Radha Krishna Pahanai. It will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. The aim of this Krishna consciousness movement is to enable us to approach Radha Krishna and associate with the Supreme Lord in his sublime pleasure dance. Narottama Das Thakura advises that if one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha and Krishna, he must accept the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Then he says, He Sambandha Nai. Sambandha means connection or contact. Anyone who has not contacted our relationship with Nityananda is understood to have spoiled his human birth. In another song also, Narottama Dasa says, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Bo Nai Nu. Anyone who does not approach Radha Krishna through a relationship with Nityananda has uselessly spoiled his life. Brita means useless. Janma means life. Tara means his, and Sambandha means relationship. Anyone who does not make a relationship with Nityananda is simply spoiling the boon of his human form of life. Why is he spoiling it? Say Pasho, Boro, Durachar. Say means that Pasho means animal, and Durachar means misbehaved or the most misbehaved. Without elevation to Krishna consciousness, through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, life is simply spoiled into animal propensities of sense gratification. Narottama Dasa says that ordinary animals can be tamed, but when a human being is animalistic, having only animal propensities, he is most horrible, for he cannot be tamed. Ordinary cats and dogs, or even a tiger, can be tamed, but when a human being goes out of his way and neglects to take to the human activity of Krishna consciousness, his higher intelligence will simply be misused for animal propensities, and it is very difficult to tame him. The enactment of state laws cannot make a thief an honest man, because his heart is polluted. He cannot be tamed. Every man sees that. The enactment of state laws cannot make a thief an honest man, because his heart is polluted. He cannot be tamed. Every man sees that a person who commits criminal offenses is punished by the government, and also the scriptural injunctions, punishment. In scriptural injunctions, punishment in hell is mentioned, but despite hearing from scripture and seeing the action of the state laws, the demoniac cannot be tamed. What are they doing? Nitena bolilo mukhe. Since they do not know who Nityananda is, they never say the names of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. Majilo samsara sukhe. Majilo means becomes absorbed. They become absorbed in so-called material enjoyment. They don't care who Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda are, and therefore they go deep down into material existence. Vidya kuhe ki koribe tar. If one has no connection with Nityananda, and if he does not come to Krishna consciousness, his vidya or his so-called academic education and kula, birth in a high family or great nation, will not protect him, regardless of whether one is born in a very big family or nation or has a very advanced academic education. At the time of death, nature's law will act. His work will be finished, and he will get another body according to that work. Why are these human animals acting in this way? Ahankare mata hoya nitai pada pasharia. They have become maddened by a false concept of bodily life, and thus they have forgotten their eternal relationship with Nityananda. Asatyere satya kori mani. Such a forgetful person accepts the illusory energy as factual. Asatyere refers to that which is not a fact, or in other words, Maya. Maya means that which has no existence but is a temporary illusion only. Narottama Das Thakur then says, Nityayer Kuruna Habe, Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha and Krishna, you must achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda first. When he is merciful towards you, then you will be able to approach Radha and Krishna. Daru Nitai Charana Dukani. Narottama Dasa advises that one firmly catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Then again he says, Nitai Charana Satya. One should not misunderstand and think that as he has caught hold of Maya, similarly the lotus feet of Nityananda may also be something like that Maya or illusion. Therefore, Narottama Das confirms Nitai Charana Satya. The lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion, they are a fact. Tahara Sevaka Nitya. And one who engages in a transcendental living service of Nityananda is also transcendental. If one engages in transcendental living service of Nityananda in Krishna consciousness, he immediately achieves his transcendental position on the spiritual platform, which is eternal and blissful. Therefore, he advises Nitai Pada Sada Koro Asha. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Narottama Borduki, Narottama Dasa Thakura. The Acharya is taking the position that he is very unhappy. Actually, he is representing ourselves. He says, My dear Lord, I am very unhappy. Nitya more koro sukhi. Therefore, I am praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. Raku Ranga Koranera Pasham. Please keep me in a corner of your lotus feet. So this is the Manha Shiksha of Narottama Das Thakur with the purport of His Divine Grace Bhacharya Narvinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Vanchakapatra Prachat Pastapeva Chapatina Pavanebha Vishnavebhu Namo Namaha. Чай шло пропада.